got some breaking news for you Jets fans as it's looking like Tanner Engstrand will be the next offensive coordinator for your New York Jets. What's going on, everybody? My name is Patrick Siepman, and welcome into the Jets Report. But I want to get the pulse of the fan base, a little vibe check here before we dive into today's show. With the Jets coaching staff almost completely finished, if you guys are hyped up about the Jets coaching staff, just go down there, hit that thumbs up icon, and put the goal on today's show as 300 likes. So if you guys could help us out here at Chat Sports and hit that thumbs up icon if you guys are fired up about your new New York Jets coaching staff. All right, so why is it looking like Tanner will be the next offensive coordinator for the New York Jets? So we can start off with what Tom Pelissero tweeted out, saying former Stanford head coach David Shaw and the Lions have agreed to terms on a multi-year deal to hire him as the passing game coordinator. And then Josina followed that tweet up by saying this, and interestingly enough, the Detroit Lions has someone on their staff and website with the reported title David Shaw is getting, named Tanner Engstrand. Well, then Connor Hughes followed that up saying sources. The Jets made a run at adding Nick Caley as offensive coordinator, their top option. He let it be known that he did not have interest in the job, and the expectation is that Tanner Engstrand will be named the OC. So, this hasn't been tweeted out by Adam Schefter, Tom Pelissero just yet, but it is looking more than likely that Tanner will be the next offensive coordinator for the New York Jets. So let's just dive into Tanner a little bit and talk about his impact that he will have on this Jets roster. So the last 2 seasons, he was the Lions pass game coordinator, manning one of the better offenses in the National Football League over the last 2 years. And actually in 2020, he was the XFL's DC Defenders offensive coordinator. So he does have some experience calling plays. And then he was also with the University of Michigan back in 2018 and 2019 as an offensive analyst. But let's just take a look more recently and how Tanner's fared out with the Detroit Lions. So the Lions had one of the best offenses in the National Football League this past season. I honestly thought they were the best unit in the whole league, just a singular unit. Like if you had to power rank every offense and defense in the National Football League, I think the Lions offense, was one of the best in the league. First in points per game, second in yards, third down rate, they were fourth, red zone percentage, they were third, and they only had 15 total turnovers on the season. But 2 guys I was thinking about in terms of Tanner coming to New York is actually the running backs. I think if Tanner is the hire, and it's looking like he will be, I think these 2 could have monster seasons for the New York Jets. Breece Hall and Braylon Allen, and also the Jets last season was one of the worst rushing offenses in the National Football League, but I don't think that was a talent issue. I think they do have 2 very talented running backs. Breece Hall's a dog. Braylon Allen's a dog. And actually their offensive line, it's not as bad as I think people make it out to be. Like Olu Fashanu obviously did get hurt early on in the season, but he was solid in some limited starts, giving a PFF grade of 61.2. But John Simpson and that interior offensive line for the New York Jets is pretty solid. John Simpson, the 16th graded offensive guard in the National Football League. Joe Tippmann, the 8th rated guard in the National Football League, according to PFF. And then Alijah Vera-Tucker had another solid season for the New York Jets, ranking 15th overall. And then Morgan Moses, just a solid right tackle there. But, even though you have 2 good running backs, you had a good offensive line, you still weren't able to run the football at all this past season. Ranking out 31st in yards per game in the National Football League on the ground, only ran for 1,500 yards, and also they had 8 touchdowns total on the season on the ground. Keep this in mind, the Philadelphia Eagles in the NFC Championship game had 7 rushing touchdowns alone. So the Jets weren't able to run the football, but I don't think it was a talent issue. I think it was a coaching staff issue. And with Tanner coming in, you also hired the Lions tight end coach to be your offensive line coach. I think this Jets offense next season, I honestly think they're going to be a downhill ground and pound team. I think it's going to be a run first offense. Kind of take a playbook if, let's just say Aaron Rodgers is back at quarterback this next season. I think they could kind of take a page out of Matt LaFleur's playbook a little bit with Rodgers, where it was a run-first team when they were, the number 1 seed in the NFC that one season when they lost to Brady in the NFC Championship. I could see this being a more run-first offense and then have the play-action games kind of stem off of that. And then also I could see them maybe moving off a guy like Devontae Adams, shoring up that offensive line just a little bit more. But I think this is a great hire if this ends up being the case. So let's welcome Tanner Engstrand to the New York Jets. Type his initials down below in the comment section. Type those T's down below. Show him some support. Show him some love down below in the comments comment section. But I think this is a great hire for the New York Jets. It's just something you had to do, in my opinion, is hire Tanner Engstrand. Now, obviously, Nick Caley, he was reportedly their top option. Weren't able to land him, but now you're adding a lot of Detroit Lions to his coaching staff, and the Lions, one of the most successful football teams over the past 2 seasons. So I think overall this is a very, very solid move for the New York Jets. But some more coaching staff news here. The Jets are actually keeping wide receiver coach Sean Jefferson. They blocked all interview requests for teams interested in him. I think this is another good move for the Jets. Clearly, he has shown the ability to, develop wide receivers. Just take Garrett Wilson, for example, or even, some of these guys who are UDFAs that, played pretty well for the New York Jets this past season. So I think that is a good move. But I do want to talk about the NFL draft here for just a second. And when I was just looking at some of the top draft targets for the New York Jets and kind of looking at what positions do they need to improve and considering the coaching staff they're bringing in, I would love for the Jets to draft Tyler Warren at pick number 7 in the 2025 NFL draft. And, the biggest reason why is I think you could replicate what Sam Laporta did with the Detroit Lions this past season. Now, Laporta, he is a monster tight end out of Iowa. He had a very, very solid season for the Detroit Lions in his first 2 seasons. And I think if you could replicate what Sam Laporta had on this group with a guy like Tyler Warren, where you have the strong run game and then you have the tight end who can be clutch on third downs, I think Tyler Warren can replicate that. And Laporta, a solid run blocker, I think Tyler Warren can kind of replicate that with the New York Jets. So if I had to get my number 1 draft target at pick number 7, I know it would be a little bold to take a tight end in the top 10, but you look at these tight ends over the last couple of years, like Sam Laporta, Tucker Kraft 2 years before this one, then Brock Bowers last year. These tight ends are coming out in the NFL and hitting at a very high rate. And we always used to say it takes tight ends a little bit amount of time to develop in the National Football League. That hasn't really been the case. I think with the increased amount of 7-on-7 play at the high school level and these guys just getting more reps, I think tight ends are coming out and hitting like receivers in their first seasons in the NFL. But let's take a look at what Warren did this past year at Penn State. He was a monster, guys. Like, if you guys were just watching the college football playoff, you could have made the argument this guy was one of the most impactful guys out there on the football field every single game. But in 135 targets this season, had 104 receptions, just over 1,200 yards with 11.9 yards per catch. And he also does have some dual threat ability. They're using him in some wildcat packages, just getting him the football any way possible. He had 26 carries for 218 yards and had a total of 12 touchdowns on the year. But this is really the breakout season for Tyler Warren, and that's another reason why I like him, because he's kind of hitting his athletic peak at the perfect time. I mean, in 2023, 22, and 21, in his freshman, sophomore, and junior campaign, he didn't really do much. He did have 7 touchdowns in his junior year, but I mean, this past season, just in the receiving game, over 1,200 yards and 8 touchdowns as well. He was truly one of the more impactful guys in college football this past season. And my pro comp for Tyler Warren, I actually go a guy like George Kittle, and especially with the yards after a catch comparison there. Like Kittle, very physical runner. I think he just reminds me a lot of him. Plays with a lot of tenacity, really gets after it when he's out there on the football field. And Kittle, I don't know if Tyler Warren will be the run blocker Kittle is, but still, I can see them having very similar impacts to whatever team drafts Tyler Warren. I'm just hoping it's the New York Jets. That would be my number 1 draft target right now. But I'll ask you guys this. Who do you want the Jets to draft? Let that name be known down below in the comment section. Drop a prospect for me down below. But just let me know. Who do you guys want the Jets to draft at pick number 7? And also, friendly reminder, hit that subscribe button if you guys haven't already. Picked up over about 380 subs on the video yesterday, so it's all credit to you guys. So if you guys could, hit that subscribe button, lock us in. Do not miss a thing around your New York Jets. And we'll see you guys next time. As always, go Jets.